If you were to take a leisurely stroll through your friendly local game shop and ask any self-respecting gamer which horror author had the greatest impact on our pastime, 9 times out of 10 you'd get the same answer, and that answer is obviously H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft is most well known for his Cthulhu mythos, with short stories like Call of Cthulhu and At the Mountains of Madness, and his works have inspired a plethora of board games. It's because of him that we have games like Arkham Horror and Mansions of Madness and the Call of Cthulhu living card game and Ancient Terrible Things, and all of these games were all inspired by his works. Now, why are his works so impressive, and why do they sort of spark the imagination of gamers the world over? Well, what's so important about them is that the bad guys, the ancient terrible things, the elder ones, they are so insurmountably powerful that just to lay your eyes on them means you'll go insane immediately. It's not your normal kind of boss battle where, okay, I'm going to punch this guy in the face a couple of times, and if I get lucky, I'll kill him. No, Cthulhu will just melt your brain the second you lay eyes on him. So that's why we've been so inspired by these stories for so many years. But the game that kicked it off and really started our fascination with the Cthulhu mythos and the works of H.P. Lovecraft was actually a role-playing game published in 1983 by a company called Chaosium. And it's been in print ever since. There's a 7th edition coming out that was just kickstarted. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. We're looking at the origin story of our fascination with H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos. So the book and the game that we're going to be looking at is, of course, The Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, written by Sandy Peterson and Lynn Willis. This is the 6th edition, came out in 2009. So let's take a look at what the book is like, and we'll just have a flip through and have a little chat about it. So I hope you enjoy. Cool, so here we have the book. As you can see, it's The Call of Cthulhu horror role-playing, 6th edition, written by Sandy Peterson and Lynn Willis with a few sort of co-authors, published by Chaosium. So this came out in 2009. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually flip through the book so you can get an idea of what the illustrations are like, what the production quality is like. But the first thing that you'll notice is that this is not a hardback, it's a paperback. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it really all depends on you and what you're interested in, and what kind of books you like to flip through. I kind of like the idea of having a hardback, something that you can plop down on the table and it's got real heft and weight. But this is also fine, and it does make it easier to page through. So really up to you. Not a good or a bad thing, just something slightly different. So let's go through. Okay. So as you can see, there's a lot of illustrations. There's the man himself, H.P. Lovecraft, that we were chatting about earlier. I'm not going to go through everything, but as you can see, if we just look at the table of contents, you can see that there's a lot of stuff in this book. The book starts with the Call of Cthulhu short story, which is actually quite nice, and it gives people who haven't read the short story a bit of an introduction to the mythos and just helps to set the mood. And then we have the game system, which goes from page 24 to page 100. So there's actually not a lot of pure rules in this book. There's a lot of mythos stuff, a lot of setting information, like lots of sort of scenarios and that kind of thing. And the actual rules are only about 70, 80 pages long, the system rules itself. So let's just take a flip through this book and see what it's got inside it. Alright, so that's the short story there. We have an introduction, just talking about role-playing games. Let's just flip through a bit. Combat. So here we go. You see we've got tables and charts. It's all very nicely laid out, very nicely sort of illustrated, quite sort of easy to read. White text on a black background. It's a classic, so it's not going to be difficult to read in low light situations. And what you're going to want to do with this game is kind of set the tone with candles or whatever you can. So let's just go through here. Now here they have, what's quite interesting is they have a lot of information about the mythos here. Okay, so they have further reading, major books in the mythos, and this is all stuff that you can work into your campaign, which is really, really nice. Let's go through a bit further. Yeah, here we have like our bestiary, the Dagon and the Hydra and the Dark Young, and a lot of these are actually creatures that you'll be quite familiar with if you've played Mansions of Madness or Arkham Horror or any of those things. Dimensional Shamblers, those are terrible when you come across them in Arkham Horror, and I'm sure likewise in the role-playing game. So let's go through here. That's our here we have a section on alien technology, which is really nice. So they've really, what's nice about this book and this game in particular is that they've put so much focus on the mythos that even if you're not familiar with H.P. Lovecraft and his works, just by reading through this book, you'll be like pretty much an expert. They have some nice ideas of a nice section on personalities and NPCs.
a Mythos Grimoire. Here we go. So these are spells and things. Detect Enchantment, Fist of Yog-Sothoth. And what's cool here is we have scenarios. So they have a little introduction to the scenarios about the Call of Cthulhu adventures. And then they have different scenarios that you can play through with layouts for the rooms and sort of in-game props. Here we have a player aid. So we've got a little newspaper clipping here. We have a letter here. So this is a really great way to get your players involved and get them excited. More newspaper excerpts and that kind of thing. So there's a few scenarios in here. And let's go here. So here's equipment costs, and it's separated by era. So we've got 1890s and then 1920s, which is the era that you'll be familiar with if you played things like Arkham Horror or Call of Cthulhu Living Card Game or Mansions of Madness, all set in the 1920s, which is a very popular era for H.P. Lovecraft stuff. Okay, we have some references for keepers and players. Keepers are kind of your GMs. Players are obviously your player characters. Cthulhu Supplements, this is just a list of all the books that they have in the series. And some ideas for events that you can use to sort of trigger stories. Like if we just pick one in as an example here, 1896. In the summer, hundreds of dead birds fall from the sky near Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, I mean, that's something you can use as a sort of inspiration if you're a keeper and you're designing your campaign. Lots of inspiration, lots of stuff you can focus on here to help get your campaign off to a flying start. Here we have some really nice example character sheets at the back. Let me just go through here. Monster Master, this is for designing your own monsters. And then we have player character sheets, one for the 1920s, 1890s, and present day. So depending on what era you want to play, there's a different character sheet for each of them. And at the back here, we've got some player aids, so just basic sort of roles that you'll come into contact with quite a lot. Insanity, sample poisons, physical injuries, and a really nice index at the back. And that is the Call of Cthulhu horror role-playing game. Now, do I recommend it? It's a percentile game, so there's a lot of dice rolling, but what's nice about it is the production of this book is just amazing. It really sets the tone, really gets you involved and interested in the mythos, and if you're a fan of any of those board games like Arkham Horror or Mansions of Madness, I'd highly recommend the Call of Cthulhu horror role-playing game. If you can get the 6th edition, get it. Or if you can get the 7th edition, which is being kickstarted, that also looks amazing. It comes in a really beautiful book, really great production value. So that is that. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will chat to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.